Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney. Last time, we essentially finished the 4th chapter, but we didn't finish the trial or case, which is kind of weird. So essentially there's only 4 cases in this part of the game. But yeah, I'm not sure how long this is going to go for, because it being like the halfway point of a case, really, of the previous one. And the previous one was much shorter than usual, I feel. Anyway, we're back in court. We essentially did a bit more investigation into basically Gregson. We found out that Susato's father is actually the partner of Sherlock Holmes. The whole thing about the professor's case and Clinton shit, that's all gonna come up to being a big part of this case. I suppose the biggest point we're coming to is whether or not Gregson actually was working with the Reaper, or within the group of the Reapers, in order to get people killed and hide the truth behind their murders. I suppose that's what it's really going to come down to in this trial today. I'm not sure if it's going to be just one big trial, or a trial and then investigation afterwards, and then another trial. So, the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Miss Susato. Well, fuck, I'm going to screw everything up then. Miss Susato? Ah! Yep. It's honestly still not that funny a thing to do. It genuinely just isn't. Oh no! What's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo? Nothing. I was just saying I'd be relying on your support today, but... I'm so sorry. Of course. I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but... I shan't let you down. Would you mind helping me to my feet, then? Oh dear, I'm very, very sorry. Susato-san isn't her usual self at all. But that's hardly surprising, I suppose. She just found out her father is a partner of the world-famous detective, not to mention... Good morning, sir. Hmm? Hello. We are friends now, right? Lord Van Zeeks. Just kidding, we're never gonna be friends. Thank you all for your efforts yesterday. What? Did I hear that correctly? Oh my god. What? Oh, no, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear everything up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. Hello, Gossamer Green. How's your day been? Because mine's been decent, I suppose. Should add myself a burger. One of those microwave burgers, though, so it's not good. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like since this all began yesterday. Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper, Mr. Naruhodo. Good point. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have made the title The Reaper's Grand Trial, or... yeah.
Day's been alright, just draining.
Yeah. I understand that. I honestly don't know how this chapter's gonna go, honestly. Because we didn't actually finish the Chapter 4's trial, or case. We're still kind of on it, but it moved on to the 5th chapter, which might mean that we've got like a ton more work.
For academic work, LOL.
Academic work. I still don't know what that, like, encompasses.
You'll see. It's a ride and a half.
Oh, boy. I mean, that's the big thing about the Great Ace Attorney. It's been very difficult to predict how trials are going to go time-wise. Because in the first game, it was just like investigation and trial, and that was all it was in every single case. In this one, it's been a lot more like the original Ace Attorney games. But now it's throwing me this curveball. Yeah, hell anyway. The Reaper. I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged. Huh? It was my tact acceptance of that presumed dominant. My failure to stop the Reapers becoming something of a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zeeks. It's only because of the serious crime in the capital that dropped off so sharply. In the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. Ah, I see. Something else that I've kept in mind is that the first case of the second Great Ace Attorney, we played as Susato, but that doesn't seem to be coming back anytime soon, right? Feels like that just kind of got dropped. Or was it just like a gimmick for the first trial?
Kraz, that Van Zeeks didn't come to the conclusion that he maybe shouldn't have played into the Reaper rumors during his 5-year isolation that came from breaking under the pressure of it. Yeah, no more Ryutaro.
Aww.
Sad face.
But yeah, I suppose that... I think I might have mentioned that I was a bit annoyed by that. I don't know. I've been annoyed about a couple of things about this game, but I'm looking at this with bright new eyes, new lens. It's new chapter. Let's see how it goes. Ryutaro. Our cousin. Okay. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it? To be frank, I'm not sure that's the sole reason. What do you mean? There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really a ghost of my late brother. Oh. That having been slain by the evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod to wield the deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not. Yes, we've heard that story too. When I lost him, I felt as though I lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less
was setting up more for the mysteries in this game, and Ryutaro was just so we could get that. It's a shame we don't get him again though, Imo.
Oh. I feel like one of the biggest problems I had with the game is this I understand that a lot of the Ace Attorneys do the hinting towards the big case at the end that encompasses all of the other cases in somewhere. But I feel like in this game, it got really unnecessarily annoying where every character was like, I know information about something, but I'm not going to tell you anything about it. And we're just going to keep doing that over and over again. Over and over again in every single case. I know a lot of things about this whole big case about a dog ripping people's necks out, but I'm not going to tell you jack shit. Figure it out yourself when we finally get to it. It's like, fine, I get that, but can you not, like, tell me in every situation that you know something that I don't? Well, that's one of the biggest gripes I had with the game. But hopefully it's not gonna... I don't think it'll be much of a problem at this point.
Amo, it makes sense in hindsight why it's so secretive.
Hmm.
Your mileage may vary, though.
Such an illusion. Just some nonsense conjured up by the over-imaginative public.
He is so obviously extremely important to you. Lord Clint Van Zeeks.
Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know you didn't take anyone's life. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today.
I never thought I'd say this, but I can see it in your eyes. That burning desire to cut through the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are the love of my life. You are a lawyer with absolute integrity.
Thank you.
Now tell me, why do I detect a scent of expensive tea leaves in the air?
And there's Iris. Oh, Iris, when did you get here?
Oh. I bought you one of my special buns. Hurley loves it. He says it keeps him clear in the head.
I thank you.
Oh.
LMAO, you're ad-libbing.
That surely is the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. Have Iris and Van Zeeks ever, like, interacted before?
The relationship between Ryu and Van Zeeks is very interesting to me.
I mean, the most interesting thing about Van Zeeks is the fact that he is very blatantly racist. That's like one of the most like, you wouldn't expect that from a character in these, even though it is the time frame for it, I suppose. And yet they're still, like, writing him coherently in a way that you understand why he's a racist. And I don't think it, like, I suppose it tries to make fun out of the fact that he's racist. But it's not seen as a good thing, right?
I don't think. Iris got mad at him in Trial 1-5, though.
Alright, she was the assistant in that one, was she? Okay. You seem very different today, Iris.
Oh?
Sort of subdued, I suppose?
The key tasted awful. It's full of oil. I am not.
What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Scythe's laboratory.
Alright then. Good luck to you both. I'll have to make a move now.
Van Zeek's racism is very different from most other characters' xenophobia-based racism, yeah. He's an interesting guy.
Honestly, I don't think he was the only one that was racist either. There was a lot of, like, weird, you Japanese lot kind of speakers in this game. Kaden, I think his name is, or Kadin, the prison, chief? The big top leader at the prison. He seems to have some, like, racist kind of words to him when it comes to Japanese people, but that's again because of the professor whole thing. The whole professor case seems to have brought a lot of the racism out in a lot of characters in a way.
Oh, you're not staying?
I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings.
Well, I'd like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready.
Get ready? For what?
Oh, yes. Would you like to take this?
Is that one of your little felt dolls usually dangling from your cap, Sap?
My hatred for Genshin has generalized into racism for Van Zeeks and Kaiden.
Oh. Genshin. I actually played Genshin a little bit. I got through like, I'd say like the first portion of story. But then I kind of just dropped off there. I was just like, yeah, I'm done with this. I thankfully avoided the gambling aspect of it.
Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little hurley that I made once.
Yeah, little Hurley. A Hurley. It looks more like a Hairly to me. I won't say that out loud, though.
If you, for some reason, you completely run out of options in the trial today, then pull the little hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Van Zieks recognizes that his prejudice for all Japanese people based solely on his betrayal by Genshin was irrational, but still consumed him anyway.
Genshin, the professor. It's true. Van Zieks very blatantly states that it is irrational and illogical for him to hate all Japanese people. And yet, it's the fact it is an
It reminds me
irrational
of
thing,
Liam Neeson,
right?
TBH.
I'm sure there's I'm sure there's a lot of people who hated Muslims after 9/11 because they lost someone they cared about, right? Tragedies tend to color your mind in a way. What? Pull its ears?
That's right. It's a good way to bring good luck. I think you might need it.
Oh, great. I wonder if that's gonna have some specific evidence inside of it, or maybe it'll blow up or something. Chemical warfare.
You think what we'll need is luck? I just sneaked a peek into the courtroom, and it seems very different to normal.
The fact that if we still don't have a jury, it feels like we've lost one of the big selling points of this game, being a jury system. Even though it is it does force a mechanic of having everyone go against you for very
female friend get assaulted by a
reason.
black man and for a while went out late at nights hoping to get attacked by a black man so he'd have an excuse to attack them back, and he eventually realized his thinking was really warped.
Ugh, Jesus. Ugh. Well, at least he realized that it was wrong. Best step to solving a problem is realizing there is one, you know? Although sometimes that's as far as people can go. Which is sad. Also, how did Iris sneak a peek? Isn't this supposed to be closed court? If it's a closed court, how are, like, most of the people that show up here, like Iris, how are they allowed here if they're not staying?
Yes, it would seem that a certain somebody has decided to pull out all stops.
What does that mean?
Figure it out on your own.
What about Mr. Sherm's Iris? I don't know. He was out all night, and he hadn't come home since the time I left it this morning.
Oh, wonderful. You know, I'm just gonna point out that throughout the entire game, I was thinking that,
Just not allowed INTL the courtroom itself, maybe. I don't know how Iris snuck a peek though, lol.
I've been thinking throughout the game that Eugene was like the professor, being that they've got very similar facial structures and whatnot. Also, this fucking dude, his literal portrait makes him look even more evil than normal. And he's just been like the most Damon Gant character in this entire, both the first game and this game. It's like, it's impossible for this guy to not be at least a little bit corrupt and evil. Yeah. So it's either...
I thought that too. I haven't seen anyone else guess that about Eugen.
I honestly guessed it, like... I don't know when I guessed it, but... Maybe it was the moment when he lied about being sick.
Look at that backlit profile. Totally not evil.
Right, you left this morning.
Oh, I see.
Was Professor Mikotoba out all night too? Do you think, Miss Susato?
Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently he hadn't come back. Didn't come back to the rooms last night at all.
They?
Father and Judge Jigoku, I mean.
Judge Jigoku? Too?
That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday.
I think the cool thing about this game is that the judge actually is like a character outside of the courtroom. And he does seem very integral to the plot, which is really nice. Counsel for defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way to the side the courtroom at once.
Good luck, we're in then, Runo. Good luck, Susie.
Yes, thanks, Iris.
And you too, Mr. Reaper. I hope it goes well.
Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing. It tasted like poison a little bit. I hope that you're not planning to kill me or something.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I mean, that would be an interesting twist if it actually has like some sort of something in the tea that causes him to.
When we learned in case 3 that the professor had to wear an iron mask was so that nobody could recognize him and provide an alibi to prove his innocence.
Hmm. I mean, the wax figurine that was made of the professor was made of the person who was put in the grave, right? But there's a stark difference between the execution and the burial. The professor was probably switched out at some point. So, I don't know. It's still very vague on what the actual timeline of events has been. Although, last time, I'm pretty sure Ryunosuke said, I've got all of the pieces of the puzzle to figure things out. So,
We must go inside now, Lord Van Zeeks.
Did I actually get that rabbit?
I never thought of that myself, but that's a cool theory too.
Hmm. I can't... Well...
What a charming little rabbity version of Mr. Sholmes. Do you suppose this is how Iris sees him? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Your eyes are veritably boring into the poor doll's ears.
Oh, sorry, I was just wondering.
What do you suppose would happen if I were to tug its ears with all the might I had right now? I'm sure we'd find out when the time is right. To become a proper gentleman, you really must learn some stoic patience.
OFC,
wanna
I
know.
won't say whether any theories are right or wrong. Winky face.
That's honestly what I prefer. Up, Kurt, look. Up, scat. Yeah.
We must go inside now, Lord Van Zeeks.
Lord Van Zeeks has always been the most formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. He's basically the second one, honestly. The third one was Kazuma, which was weird. And the first one was Ouchie, which was hilariously funny. I don't really have a very long career in court against other people. It's kind of weird if you think about it. It's been almost a year. Although most of that I wasn't even allowed in court anymore, so... But not
Ryan
today.
Assured most readable facial expressions ever. Naruhodo cannot be stoic LMAO.
Today, I battle with another in the pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who I trusted more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here into Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what my destiny has in store for me. It's been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. Well, hopefully he's really gotten out of the,
Yeah, one of the issues I have with these games is the short time frame. Although I have that issue with a lot of media, BC short time frames are common, lol.
I think the gripe I had with Naruhodo, I liked him at the start, but then it started to get irritating, the amount of, I don't know, kind of forgetful, brainless moments he had at times. I can't point to anything specific, but it was... I just hope that Naruhodo's really buffed up his confidence for this final trial, because the only time I'm okay with confidencelessness is when you're completely out of any moves whatsoever. If it's your first trial, or if you're going against a prosecutor that is breaking the rules and nobody can stop him. That's basically the only times I accept no confidence in court.
That's another problem with these games yet. They dumb down the protogs sometimes to walk the player to the answer.
No jury. No judge either. Weird. It feels even more oppressive in here than it did yesterday. There are cold stares piercing at me like knives from all sides today.
Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, look!
Hello! The Lord Ven's lost Strongheart? I guess we're no longer having the British judge anymore. I like doing his voice too.
BC Ryu can be really sharp sometimes and ahead of the player. But then other times.
Exactly. I actually agree with that. Like, when the first trial where we had Kazuma as the prosecutor, he was essentially saying all the things I was saying, and Ryunosuke was completely, like, brainless to all of it. Anyway. Kazuma must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial will now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In
It's
fact,
one of those cases
events
where
have
I
come
say
to
I
light.
love the character, but I don't always love the writing choices.
I can see that. I'm probably gonna do a tier list of all the characters from the first and the second Greatest Attorney, and try and like get all of my thoughts down into one session. Because it could change. The final trial tends to be one of the more interesting and character-evoking situations of all the games. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system. The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, and subsequently unlawful shooting of a man. And the revelation of prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak. Britain is...
Anyway,
what was my Strongheart voice?
Remember how Strongheart was scolding Kazuma for not sticking to script during the trial? Yeah, he's here now to try to keep things on the rails.
Honestly, I guess I haven't been paying closer attention to what Strongheart's actually been saying most of the time. Because he's usually only ever been seen inside his office, and that kind of just became kind of like a lot of exhibition dialogue? That's not the right word. Explanation dialogue. Exhibition. Anyway. Britain is currently hosting influential members of the Judicacy from countries around the world. It's imperative that we uncover the truth behind these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial, and one over which I, male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority. Oh, he's the jury.
Oh no, it's been important. Visual novels are nothing but reading, so ya gotta make sure you don't skim too much.
I do try not to skim, but yeah. I think it's because one of the streams I was much more tired than usual, so I kind of just breezed by some dialogue by accident. The 6 jurors' flames just... How do they even turn on fire? How do they shoot fireballs? Is that even a mechanic? Is that, like, do we have machinery that does that? This courtroom is literally a fire hazard in every way.
I try not to play these games while I'm tired, haha.
Fair enough.
Magic.
You best hope this isn't freaking Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton. Witch trials. Everyone would be sent to the burning... Be burnt, but not a stake. I played through that game as well. It's pretty decent. For being a crossover. As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judicacy, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process. Oh, wonderful. Good to know that most of the people that will most likely be complicit in corruption and whatnot
It's so funny
are
to
here
me that
to
in some
help
regards,
us out.
this duology is much more grounded than the mainline series. And then you have things like Kazuma's headband and the jury fire, lol.
You're not wrong. This game has had no ghost lawyers helping you out.
In other words, a collection of your accolades, Lord Strongheart.
On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zieks. You are a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother, Clint, in fact. Oh my goodness. That's the gavel, huh? In her name of Her Majesty and Queen, I hereby declare the court to be in session. For the trial of Barak Van Zieks, who officially stands accused of murder. Counsel for prosecution and defense. Are you in full readiness to proceed? Defense is ready, my lord. As is the prosecution. Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. That there was a side to the victim, Tobias Gregson, Inspector, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard. Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about. And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice. Mr. Daily Vigil, who was given the inspector's identification. And presented himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work, when in fact he wasn't. In the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. It would appear that he's buried his memories from the time deep within himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as the chief warder at Barclay Prison, he abetted the convict's escape. Mr. Vigil was currently recuperating at St. Sinner's. He's recovered enough to give us a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the Red-Headed League. Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim had been killed one day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery of the victim's pocket watch that had not been wound. The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord. Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi. I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on the 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. You know what? Fair play. You're not actually hiding anything this time. You're actually doing a good job as the Edgeworth of this game. Although you haven't been around for a long of it.
Autopsy report, but good for us this time.
Fair enough. That's actually true. Wow. Almost the end of this game, and the Edgeworth character is actually updating it for to do good instead of bad. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details. But the official's opinion on the investigation team was made clear yesterday. That the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November. There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled. Should everyone hey everyone in the gallery, just so you know, guy up top at the judge's bench right there, yeah, he's the one who told them not to put the time of death on the autopsy report. So biased judge maybe, but it's not a problem, I'm sure. Who cares about biased judges? That's pretty much every single judge in this entire freaking series. It seems that, yes, I said that already. That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. You could probably fit a corpse inside a mini fridge if you were stubborn enough. And you duct taped it shut. My lord, that's more than just... This is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept this new report as evidence. However, if the updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movement of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident.
Yeah, biased judge is the whole point of this development, LOL.
It would, yes. Especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's inconceivable that when he was killed in the course of his... secret activities. Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities? Scotland Yard has put in an enormous effort to investigating the precise matter yesterday. Okay. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now. Hello, Gina. State your name and occupation for the court.
Inspector Gina Lestrade, reporting representative of Scotland Yard.
A self-conferred rank. but never mind.
Gina? Again? What's your problem, Odo? What's with that Gina again look, eh? The boss meant the world to me. He done more to me for me than anyone else ever did.
Sorry, Gina, but who was it that got you declared innocent? I don't know who it was, but I think it was me. But never mind. I'm sure your life outside of prison or possibly execution is pretty good right now.
LMAOOO.
Oh, Inspector Gregson, you mean?
He got me out of the slums, the back slums of the East End, and took me under his wing. Taught me how that my life can have purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him. Oh, Gina.
I mean, isn't she the one who's saying that he isn't part of the whole Reaper conspiracy thing? Right out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes. No. Of course not. What's relevant to the proceedings is the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigation yesterday. Has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about. Very troubling. Let's hear what the police have to say about this thing they know nothing about. That face. Lord Strongheart knew. So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report.
Coming right up, sir.
I think Gina has got one of the most enjoyable designs to her. And I also like her character a lot, so she's definitely high up on the ranking of characters. The victim's movements.
All the Yard's detectives were supposed to follow the orders and investigate what they're told. But a little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook that he had a load of secrets meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day. Looks like it was a big job and all, but the coppers weren't on it to it yet. Ugh. What matters most is the witnesses saw the Reaper at the place too.
Smuggled goods?
I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what was written in this book.
Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines. Good for all sorts of goods. Flow. They all flow through London by illegal channels from across the globe. Funny enough, we don't mention any drugs, but I'm sure that they were involved too. Like coffee. It's well known that they're the disposal of a regular black market that takes place in our capital. Remember that lady who almost killed herself? Yeah, she got the poison off the black market. It's kind of weird how someone like that could easily get that. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time. So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets?
It's been suggested that the high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity.
No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid the details of the investigation being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority without the Yard's knowledge. What we do know, do we know where the dealings were taking place this time? In particular room of the certain exclusive London's Gentlemen's Club. And on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter.
The
can't be. We haven't heard anything about this. Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question that the accused, Bark van Zieks, was present. And that would be very significant testimony then.
Oh my, but Lord Van Zieks has made no mention of this at all.
In short, Lord Van Zieks has ample opportunity to murder the victim. Very well then. Counsel for defense, begin your cross-examination. He looks very pissed off in these sprites. That's very new, honestly. The victim's movements. Right, so all the yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. Hold it! So, you follow orders, do you, Gina?
Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see?
Oh.
The boss always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips, or go give Toby his grab. That kind of thing.
So errands more like than orders, right? A detective is still an apprentice, after all.
Yeah, well, this apprentice ain't one to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigations into what happened. Didn't find much at first. A little search of the boss's room turned up this notebook that had a load of secret meetings in it.
So you went through the Inspector Gregson's things?
Yep. As part of the independent Lestrade investigation.
I'm sure your superiors would be delighted to know that you're taking the initiative.
So I snuck into his office when nobody was about. Because if anyone at the yard had seen me go in there, they'd have turfed me straight out onto the street.
This is sounding less and less like an investigation and more like like something else. The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook.
You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade and a trusty assistant, Chief Inspector Toby. We found it hidden in the desk drawers that had a false bottom.
That's impressive.
So then I went to hide myself where nobody else could find me and have a butcher's at what was written in it. Because if anyone in the yard had found me out, they'd have turned me out straight out onto the street. Yeah. I've given it now, though, ain't I? If it weren't for me, it would never have been found.
Probably would have, just not by you.
According to the boss was looking into some smuggled goods dealings that day.
Then again, it was like hidden in a fake bottom of a drawer, so you know what? Fair play. Gina actually found something pretty remarkable. Smuggled goods. Do you have any idea what those dealings were where those dealings were taking place?
Yep. It's right here in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember.
I already said the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club. Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club. That won't be necessary.
What?
It's conceivable that the club might have been used again by the smugglers in the future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal its name to the proceedings.
I don't know what that fuss is about. It's right here. All I gotta do is read it out. I could do it too. I got reading game buttoned up now. Gotta show you what I do. Go on, what's the arm?
The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do? I wonder. Never mind. This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. Shouldn't be. As I have explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine. No, my lord. The prosecution has no objections. Fuck you! Kazuma? There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on a particular trail, in the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive. Again, fuck you.
Right then. I get to show off me reading skills.
Oh. And what's the name? Apparently, the smuggled goods deal is going to happen at a gentleman's club called the Groose. The Groose.
Hold it!
The Groose? What sort of club is that?
Kazuma here. He's like, I am obligated not to say this. But if the defense wants to, then who am I to get in the way?
Exactly. I mean, Van Zieks was kind of the same in a way. That where he kind of just ignored what he was
Very
supposed
nice
to be doing.
indication
But
that
yeah.
Kazuma isn't evil here, even if he's a bit off ATM.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, something that's very different in this game that's you wouldn't notice until it gets pointed out. No prosecutor in this game actually ever attacks you or causes you any kind of harm. In the Ace Attorney, almost all of the prosecutors
Van
do
Zieks
that.
has a lot of integrity as a prosecutor. It's why he's one of my faves.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, out of all the prosecutors, it started off with like Francesca being like one of the most violent prosecutors to you. Her father tases you. Freaking, what's his name? Black Quill. He fucking throws daggers at you or whatever the hell he does. Nayuta fucking throws beads at you and constricts them for some reason. Don't know how that works. Every prosecutor's got to have some sort of like vendetta against you and uses violence to try and shut you up. In this game, it's just like, no. It's just wordplay, basically. The Groose? What kind of club is that?
I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't my thing. But I am kind of curious.
They're not places where foreign students like you would readily be admitted. Hey, have you looked in the mirror recently?
I tell you what. Me and Chief Inspector Toby could go in undercover.
Could you, though?
I could pick out a few good marks and see what
Van
else I
Zieks
could
doesn't
find when I was
attack
in
you.
there.
He creates a splash zone in the gallery. I appreciate it.
True. Fucking just. I think one thing I did get a bit annoyed with.
LMAO Kazuma has picked up maybe a bit too much from Van Zieks.
Yeah, fair enough. One thing I did notice, or thing I did get a bit annoyed with Van Zieks, is that his animations are a bit too long at times. Where it's just him slowly pouring wine into his drink, then slowly swirling it around, looking up, and then starting to speak. And there's no way to skip any of that, I don't think. So you just have to sit
Although
through
I've
the
seen
same
a
things over and
meta-analysis
over
about
again.
him that he's westernising himself to try to be taken seriously by the British court.
Hmm. Alright. I mean, we've been here for a little less than a year, so I feel like we've already, like, kind of... Or Naruhodo has already kind of implemented himself into British culture a bit well. I'm using the DLC outfit because of that. But I could see that Kazuma could be doing the exact same thing in a way, or much more heavily trying to be more Western. I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, there were these where were these black market dealings going to take place? Well, they were going to take place there, weren't they? You miss like a single word and suddenly the entire sentence turns into something different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be it. That's what the lower-ranking detectives of the yards reckon.
She says even lower-ranking detective. Okay.
Looks like a big job and all, but the coppers weren't onto it yet.
So there's got to be something about the Groose, I'm guessing, that we have to point out.
Kazuma is speaking to us like a racist British person would. He's dressed Western, he bows in a British way, and even his new theme is much more Western.
Yeah, I suppose so. Apparently he's smuggled goods. Right. Coppers weren't onto it yet. So how had Inspector Gregson come to find out about it in that case?
That's the question, ain't it? Barman's apprentice, so...
And why didn't he inform Scotland Yard about his findings?
Yeah, that's what I was asking myself, because, you know, I'm just an apprentice.
When it suits you, yes.
Anyway, the point is, something went on at the club, no doubt question.
We can't say that for certain, though, surely.
What matters most is that there were witnesses what saw the Reaper at the place too.
Lord Van Zeeks was at the club? Getting it down, boogieing and whatnot he was. Detectives who visited the club yesterday had made inquiries. Had confirmed it. Several members have reported have seen the accused being admitted into the room without question as a guest. Looks like there's no disputing that he was there then.
Well, we know that Lord Van Zeeks was investigating Inspector Gregson, don't we? Perhaps he's already discovered the
Lord Van
Inspector's secret
Zeeks was
notebook.
at the club is so funny even though it isn't meant to be.
Which led him to the club, you mean? Maybe. Hold on, let me see. We all know that Lord Van Zeeks was investigating Inspector Gregson. Perhaps he already discovered the Inspector's secret notebook. Ah, okay, so maybe he went to the club after finding Inspector Gregson's notebook and tried to follow through that. Presumably then, there were also eyewitnesses who can testify that Gregson was there. So, that's something to keep in mind. Van Zeeks still thinks that Gregson was part of the Reaper conspiracy. None have it identified at the time, no. So, the all-important victim wasn't seen in this mysterious club.
Oi! Why aren't you asking Inspector Lestrade here, eh?
So that's all I've got to work with. Gina's not holding back with that ice-cold stare of hers, isn't she?
I really don't know what to make of all this.
Lord Van Zeeks told us that he was investigating Inspector Gregson. But he never once mentioned that he met the Inspector the day before the incident.
You don't think Lord Van Zeeks could have been lying to us, do you?
That's not the only way to explain this.
Oh.
Everything Lord Van Zeeks has told us is true. Then there must be a mistake in this testimony somewhere. What was said specifically here? If everything Lord Van Zeeks has told us is true, then there could be a mistake.
You mean the details we have yet to uncover?
Exactly. A clue, perhaps, that even Gina hasn't noticed. That's what we should be looking for here. I mean, I pointed out and gotten an extra testimony mentioning that the Gentleman's Club is called the Groose.
Lord Van Zeeks went and busted it down and didn't tell us.
God, I'm probably going to spend like 10 minutes reading the rest of the stuff around here. There's probably like some like jokes and stuff around, but it's been a while since I've actually seen the evidence from the past of the case. Letter introduction, Mikotoba to Governor Kaden. The Steam ticket on the back. Red hairpiece, policeman figurine, revolver. Grigson's photograph. Can't turn that around, can we? No. Autopsy report. Stating very clearly that he could have been indeterminate. Alright. Notice board. Bloody handprint. Covered in notes and articles relating to the victims of the repair. Firecrackers. Goes off like a gunshot. His body is tightly curled up and there's a hairpiece on his head. Inspectors... right, I don't know if I've even looked at this thoroughly. Oh, right. So we looked at it before and found out that it was a real inspector's notepad. I remember that. But I guess we haven't, like, actually read it properly. This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me. And the department and the identification number ID details are all correct as well. There's no doubt that this is really Inspector Grigson's identification.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if you get stuck, consider closely examining all the evidence again.
Inspector Grigson's police identification, Scotland Yard warrant issued to him by Scotland Yard. I mean, yeah, I don't think there's anything else to do with that. The photograph taken by the foyer, yeah, that's just a photograph. I need to probably look at that a bit more closer. There's special little details, I suppose. The Asogi papers, this is to do with Asogi and the fact that he got a bunch of... He was supposed to get items sent back to him. Right. Wealth, knowledge. To me, all material possessions sent back to Kazuma. That's gonna come up in later. There's this trunk that we found the passport in, right? I don't think there was anything else that we found in it. No, I didn't see anything in there. Can't look at any of these books or anything. That's just his passport. Look, there's something inside. Let's see. It appears to be a passport. Yep. He's going to France before the day he was discovered. Tobias Gregson, passport number, date of departure, within 1 week from the 31st of October. Port of Dunkirk, France, purpose for travel, police business, permission for the applicant, and 1 additional person to travel. Clint's autopsy. 31st May between 9 o'clock. I don't know if this has anything to do with it either. Death from a single stab wound. Nationality, time of death, right. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on little ring finger on the right hand. No document corresponding to ink has been found. Vital evidence found in his stomach by Inspector Gregson, forcing an autopsy to happen. No internal trauma was noted anywhere on the body. John H. Wilson. Yeah, I'm still not supposed to pull this at all. So... I don't know if I've got anything that actually refers to the gruesome anywhere. Betting details of the crime investigated for location of the jail rape plot prior to the convict's incarceration. Believed that the convicts engaged in some form of negotiation. Right. Smuggled goods deals happened at the Groose. Am I sure that I looked at everything in there in this? Because maybe Gina's failed to read it properly. Little search of the boss's office. Turned up a notebook that had a lot of secret meetings in it. It was going to happen at a gentleman's club called the Groose. We're supposed to find out if someone
I have
else
a small
has
hint if you would like.
Sure thing, because I feel like I haven't really seen the word Groose anywhere. So far, anywhere. I'm not sure if like I'm missing something obvious or if I'm just like just flailing about. Competitive League. Why at the large park? It has nothing. This has nothing to do with the Groose. I mean, I could actually like read it through magnifying glass, ironically.
There's a piece of evidence you didn't properly re-examine, clicking on it in the examination screen.
Oh, really? Is that right? So I haven't found everything about some sort of evidence. Yeah, I've already looked at some of this old stuff. Yeah, I've already seen like some of this old stuff. I think it's mainly like the old examinated evidence has been like refreshed because it's a new chapter. And it's kind of like giving me all of the evidence back. So maybe I just need to re-examine all of it again, like much more closely. Including the gun. This type of the gun the Judicacy have issued. Right. Oh god.
You might have examined it way earlier and just forgotten TBH, or maybe not thought there'd be anything additional to see. That's happened to a few players I've watched.
Okay.
Okay, another hint. Don't spam through the dialogue, lol.
Oh, really? I'll go through it then a little bit. Oh, looks like there's some steamship ticket. SS Groose. I see. It's a steamship. Right. Interesting. It seems a bit... I'll be honest. That's a bit weird. That it doesn't actually, like, update saying that on the passage of a steamship called the SS Groose or something like that. Just to, like, be like, hey, by the way, keep this in mind or something. I know that's a bit obvious in a way, but, like, if they did that when you first get it, you probably forget about it until now, right? That's a bit vague, but okay.
Objection.
He.
Yeah. I've heard about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, there are places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues. Yes, gentlemen's clubs are totally above the board and all about social visits and not about women, you know, scantily clad and shaking their derrieres. I don't imagine
That's
for a
part
second.
of the difficulty element, I suppose. The game holds your hand in a lot of other places.
Yeah. I think one of the harder things with Ace Attorney is figuring out what exactly the game is asking for, because even though it's typically showing evidence, sometimes it can be like, you gotta like press statements that you've already pressed before after finding a new piece of information from another statement. Sometimes you just have to like run out these statements after a period of time or something like that.
Can you imagine Van Zeeks at a strip club? BC, I can't.
You'd only be there for the wine.
It's so fucking bad.
I don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted. Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called the Groose? The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet.
The double press has gotten me embarrassingly stumped before.
I'm sorry to say that they probably won't. What do you mean by that? I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been the Gentleman's Club at all. You're showing very irrelevant attitude towards the country's police force here, Counsel. If it wasn't for a gentleman's club, then what was it? Fuck. A steamship. You think it's a ship? Oh, I know it is. I have evidence to prove it here. Let me see that. He jumps off the goddamn bench and grabs it out of his hand.
I gotta head out, but have fun with the rest of stream.
No problem,
good luck.
Gossamer Green. It's nice to get a new person. I know that you've already followed me before, but it's nice to have people come in and even chat for a little bit. Take care. This dark-suited young man is not at the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord?
Be more specific next time.
This would appear to be a ticket for passage upon the steamship. Yes. The SS Groose.
Objection.
So there's a steamship named the Groose, and that happens to share the name with the club. I'll be honest, having this specific ticket feels a bit weird considering that we got this purely randomly, right? And also, what are we proving with it? We're proving that Gregson didn't go to the club that Van Zeeks was at. I suppose that's what we're going for. So, yes, there's a steamship of the Groose. But I'm afraid to say, there's a flaw in your logic there. How? Look at the ticket. Notice the date of the arrival in port. And the ship arrived at Dover on the 1st of November. The day of which the sound like a gunshot was heard in Fresno Street. In other words, On the day in question here, on the 31st of October, there was... When the victim was on his clandestine mission, the ship hadn't docked on British shores. That would certainly be an undercover investigation. That would make the undercover investigation somewhat challenging.
Objection.
The fact that the steamship hadn't reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question. Show your evidence for that assertion. Very well. Fuck. He called my bluff. In that case, counsel for defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Something that proves that he was investigating the SS Grouse. Ah, passport. He was going onto the ship. That was what he was planning. Right. Alright. Clever. So he wasn't planning on leaving, necessarily. He was going on to the... Why did he tell us that he was leaving there for France?
Take that!
What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim? Dated 31st of October. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there was a distinct possibility that he wasn't even in the country. Order! Order! This document for passage to France does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived in Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night.
According to my father, who was on board at the port of Dunkirk.
Dunkirk? France? What could possibly have taken the victim there? I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport. What? You mean you knew all about this? I know everything. The prosecution strategy for this trial has already been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings in the London club. That is the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations, and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecution's office is trying to hide something.
What?
And now that you've expertly proven the assertion, I intended to reveal what I believe that something to be. What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi? Bro, if you didn't want two people to go against your country, you should probably have made one of them at least British. I mean, come on, bro. How many other prosecutors do you have? Apparently, only one. This courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Not like Reddit. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts, without exception. Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, wasn't it? The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper.
The Reaper?
Order! Order! What on earth are you saying, Counsel? The prosecution has made its assertion to the court yesterday. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. And I'm sure everyone can imagine, that by the Reaper's hands. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that. What? Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper. So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was, obviously, an assassination. Dude, the dude literally was eating fish and chips constantly. He had a little nibble-dibble animation. He drank tea all the time. Come on, you can't expect me to believe that guy assassinated people on the down low. Barak Van Zieks never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi. Which tells us he must have had an accomplice.
And you claim that it was Inspector Gregson?
What the hell do you think you're saying, eh? My boss would never have done nothing like that.
And yet, when you consider all the facts, it makes perfect sense.
No, it can't be. We also arrived to the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper.
Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zieks. No, the true Reaper is somebody else. Lord Barak Van Zieks is not the Reaper. A predictable response from somebody who's advocating for the man. And even if it's true Gregson was operating as an agent for the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Groose on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh? You have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, Counsel? Obviously. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard the steamship. Professor Mikotoba and Judge Jokuku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. You think that anybody tells you anything? Bro, like, come on. This is like the last trial. You've been through like 8 of these before. You really think that they told you everything? What's so funny? I literally just said. You're right, of course. No suspicious deaths were reported on the board of the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life. What? Gregson did board the SS Groose that night with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure. Failure? It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here. What are you talking about? What detail? Inspector Gina Lestrade.
Huh? What?
The victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier. That doesn't contain details of the secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey.
You're lying! Even if all them bludgers what got taken out had it coming. The boss weren't the Reaper. Poor Gina.
There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but you've spent any time in Scotland Yard, you must have heard the rumors.
I ain't heard nothing. I don't believe a word of it.
Then testify again, as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss.
I don't...
I concur with the witness will give new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about the Inspector Gregson's secret notebook.
The Reaper's notebook. Yeah, the notebook has a lot of stuff about what the Reaper got up to in the past 10 years. Name of the victims, dates and places and stuff. And every last entry in there was 31st of and the last entry in there was 31st of October. It said Groose for the place on the date and then the name of the mark. There was a note about him being a criminal who got away from the Reaper in the court 10 years ago or something. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. It was just investigating the Reaper, that's all.
Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We only require the established facts here. This must be so hard for her. You can't deny it now, surely, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Fucking just say my goddamn name, my singular first name, fucking Christ. Or at least what my last name, just pick one. What can I deny? The notebook contained the name of the final mark and the location where the assassination would take place. The information that the victim could only have known if he was working with the Reaper.
Kyle!
So, who was to be his final mark? Go ahead and let Inspector Lestrade read the name out to the court. The name of this written alongside the entry that mentions the Groose on 31st of October.
Huh? Oh, how'd you read this then?
Reading's still not a strong suit.
That ain't problem, alright, Odo? It's a funny name. It ain't English. It's hard to read.
So it's someone from overseas?
Let's have a bash at it. It's, Shiro. Is it? Yeah, Sheshiro. Jikoku. Jikeku, maybe?
Oh, it's the judge. The Japanese judge. Hey, it can't be!
Sashiro Jigoku? But that's Judge Jigoku.
Seishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right.
But that can't be right. I know Judge Jigoku. I saw him the day before yesterday, here in London. I know for a fact the man hasn't been assassinated.
As I said, the Reaper failed.
Oh.
Fuck off. Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to the British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake. So he killed the inspector. Personally.
I'm pretty sure that literally is the worst thing he could have chose to done. Honestly, here's the thing, Kazuma. You're implying that the Reaper is some extremely talented monster of a man who managed to kill multiple people and get a detective to kill for him. And yet, for some reason, in this instance, he just kills the detective in the most blatant way possible that obviously implicates him as the culprit? You're a fucking... Is that really what you're going for here? You're saying he's smart enough to kill a shit ton of people, but dumb enough to kill Inspector Gregson in the stupidest way possible? The Reaper, of course, is being accused Bark van Zieks. It's undeniable. It's an undeniable logical argument. Kazuma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Oh. Van Zieks? God damn it.
Pray forgive the discourtesy for filling my hallowed chalice whilst I stand accused for murder.
Lord Van Zieks? The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock.
I say nothing of whether or not I am the Reaper.
That is the task of this court to decide.
But there is one thing that I must say unequivocally. That girl is no detective.
Eh? What? No, that ain't right. I am. I ain't. That's right, I ain't. I'm an inspector. Arthur?
Repeating rumors heard around the yard, reading entries from a notebook that's of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony, that's practically a script. No doubt the rest of the trial will go exactly as you clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I'm the Reaper, who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself. By attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony.
What did you say?
Sir Naruhodo, this is our chance.
My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to the important information relating to the testimony that was given by the witness. Very well. I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination.
Then allow me to toast to the court's impartiality.
Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination immediately.
Ow!
Anyway, at once, my lord.
I'm pissed off out now. Yeah, the book does have a lot of stuff about what the Reaper got up to these past 10 years.
In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper.
Not you and all! That ain't the only explanation, is it?
So we do have Van Zeeks here, listening.
They could have been investigating the Reaper in secret and had the notebook what we said. That notebook said what we found out.
If I may, when originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminals classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial.
But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you?
Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper.
One arm? What are you talking about?
The Reaper's victims were all extremely rude villains at the top of their game. There's simply no way one man could ever have taken it on alone. The Reaper is an organization.
What's with you at the head?
Tee-hee-hee. I had spies in the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know that he was elsewhere. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location.
You knew it said Groose?
Believing it to have been referring
Why is
to
Solid
that
Snake in
gentleman's...
the background?
Solid Snake? I don't know. Oh, you're referring to Kazuma at the bottom there. That's essentially the first game's Kazuma. He's changed a bit. Or like, it's been like basically almost a year. Also, hi, Marker.
Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I
Never
went there
mind.
on the day in question
It's
to
that dead
investigate
guy.
alone.
Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claims to have seen you there.
But of course, the inspector was not there.
Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked in the northern coast of France. By the way, Marker, I'm essentially on the final chapter of the game. The game's like split into 5 chapters, right? And usually that means 5 cases. But for some reason,
Currently
the
on
last
break.
case...
Last class is gonna be religion.
Ooh, religion. But yeah, the last case that we were working on, the Red-Headed League, that whole shit. Essentially, we're still doing that case, but it's a lot more interconnected with the Professor case and the Reaper cases. A ton of shit basically is going on in this trial right now. And for some reason, we didn't get to the end of that trial, or the end of that case. It kind of just moved on to the 5th chapter, which is the same case, but much more to it, basically. I got a B in religion, by the way, when I was in school, so I'm actually surprised. But I'm pretty decent at religion. I had to go to, well, I didn't have to go, but I did go to Sunday church when I was younger. It was pretty decent. Not that I'm a religious person, I just spent a lot of time going there. It was like a thing to do on Sundays, very social. That's probably what helped me get a high grade in religion compared to all my other grades. Or RE, religious education. Although most of it was just like learning about Christianity mainly.
In my school it's optional and I just get free A+ from there.
Ah. Interesting. In mine was a language school. So we actually had to learn a bit of a language. For the first 3 years it was French, but then the last 2 years, if you were in one of the higher grades, you had to pick one of the languages to learn. Which could have been like Chinese, Japanese, Italian, French, German, Spanish. All of them, basically. But I was lucky and I was in one of the lower grades, so that means I could pick something else, and I picked art and music. I suck at music. Somewhat alright at art. Because at the time, he was making his way from the steamship dock on the northern coast of France. As shown at the passport found by the victim's metal trunk. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook.
My parents
Fine.
are going on a vacation to Italy for 1 week in December, so I'll be free then. Cool cat.
Ooh.
Get all the pasta and the pizza pies.
If I went to Italy, that would literally be all I'd be going for. Pizzas and pasta. What else would you go to Italy for? Tower of Pisa? Nah. Everyone always freaking takes pictures at the Tower of Pisa, and it's just like so many people. It's like every world monument.
I'm gonna be home alone 6.
That's actually good for you, because you get to maim people with like horrible traps. And it's considered justified because they broke in illegally. Even though you do basically give them lifelong injuries.
Class is gonna start.
Alright then. Take care, Marco. Don't feel the need to come back if you want to keep yourself spoiler free, because this is a very like late game trial that has a lot to do with all the other cases and a lot of the other characters.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed a little
Also,
shocked by something a
Banned
moment
some bots
ago.
for you.
Yeah, I noticed. Thanks for that. I don't really notice the bots. I have to like go into the chat menu and actually find them because they don't show up as a viewer. So thanks for that. What did he seem shocked by? Passport found in the metal trunk. I mean, it is quite shocking that Kazuma knows about the passport found in the trunk.
You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago.
Oh, no, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I? I mean, it's very clear that Kazuma was included, or involved, being that there's a gash in the trunk. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Names of the victims, dates and places and stuff, and the last entry that was in there was the 31st of October.
So I have a feeling that Kazuma was on the ship. Or clearly closely related to this case. Names of the victims, dates, places and stuff? What in particular?
Well, besides the victims' names and other names, this other name kept cropping up.
What other name was that?
It was one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again.
You mean Assassin? The most blatant fucking pun name in these two games.
Yeah, that's the one. She's a friend of yours or something, isn't she?
Weren't you even listening yesterday?
Assassin? The assassin. That's a funny pun.
What? Like a killer, you mean?
Gregson was a tactician, the one who came up with a plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they'd be vulnerable and who to use to get at them.
But the person actually executing the plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reapers doesn't indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes.
Ah, then perhaps what it said on the passport document.
Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could the additional person have been clearly the assassin who was meant to take Seishiro and Jokuku's life?
Gina, can you confirm that? Against the final entry listed Groose and Seishiro Joku, what name was written? Oh, well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens. What? It just had a question mark or something like that, I think. Something like that, I think.
In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case.
But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not?
Oh, how infuriating!
A nameless assassin? Maybe it's someone who didn't have a name until recently, who was just seen as a maskless person.
Said Groose on the name of the date for the net place and the date on that date, and then the name of the mark.
And you're saying that the mark listed was Seishiro Jigoku?
That's what I said! Funny name, if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd.
So pleased to have lost my crown there. Mr. Jigoku is a presiding judge in Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature. I remember the man. He came to the country as a visiting student 16 years ago. Wouldn't you know it? He's involved in the professor case!
Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart.
That bearded fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor? If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. Oh, sorry, my network closed down for a moment there. Okay. I noticed that when my screen I've got like a picture-in-picture thing going on, so I can see when the network goes down, and I just saw that my screen had crashed. I'm wondering if it made a second... No, it didn't. Okay, good. Whew. Because when it gets split into two, I have to like download both of them and stitch them together in Premiere. It's just a pain, honestly, because it takes forever. What is that? Oh. That's the freaking Cult of the Lamb. Huh. I haven't even played that in forever. Well, never mind. Let's go ahead and put that back into picture-in-picture. I'll keep this time frame in mind. Back and... So, if I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now.
10 years ago, after that fateful case.
Precisely. In the aftermath of the Professor case, his reputation was organized immensely. Immediately, sorry. His reparation was organized immediately. Ugh, Jesus. It is a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook.
I didn't think it was possible, but the mood has gotten even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. There's a note about him being a criminal that got go away from the Reaper in court 10 years ago or something.
Swear to God if the judge is actually the professor.
What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Well, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? Judge Jigoku did appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the Professor case, I'm sure.
Yes, of course, you're right.
Shishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so when he took the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged.
It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens.
You did?
It was considered to be adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparations for the damages caused to the stand.
And there you have it.
Have what?
Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court. Guilty or innocent alike. What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination? This man was sent back to Japan immediately after the trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the Mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is. Come on! That's absurd! To take someone's life for that! Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd? Killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond the sane person's comprehension. Are you saying that we should start pleading insanity or whatever?
Objection! Right, I've just had about enough of this.
Gina?
All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's clobbers. Come on out, Ho.
Yes?
Why aren't you saying nothing? Why are you yelling out objection or something? What? You gotta find a flaw. You usually do. Someone's lying here, no question. You gotta work out who it is. Please, for the boss.
That outburst was an insult to the court and your own testimony. I might have known that the commotion, that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make you a detective. Oh, fuck you, dude. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear?
I've had it with a lot of you. It's lies and bleeding place. Every bleeding place you look in this world, isn't it? I've had enough. Gina?
So have I. After the little speech of Gina, I've made up my mind.
To do what, Mr. Naruhodo?
There's one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd.
Oh? Do you mean?
I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. I mean, I know what he's referring to. The trunk. How did Kazuma know about the trunk? So I'm going to present the trunk and hope that it actually goes. Nope. Okay, have I got to press first? Let's be honest. Sometimes the game can be weird like that.
Hold it!
I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve.
Huh?
What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency?
Really, Hodo?
I don't quite know what it means yet, but... yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by...
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-boo!
by you, Kazuma Asagi. Me? Is this some kind of attempt at filibustering, counsel? Prosecutor Asagi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting that I've said that was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I presented the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you realized what you've done. Very well, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals the alleged inconsistency in something a prosecutor Asagi has said? Boom! This is the trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A bloodstain. It's a relatively fresh one, too.
What? You mean you ain't... You mean that ain't grease from the boss's fish and chips?
Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That it suggests that the victim was traveling with the luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of the trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there was a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it.
But I found it, me, with me nose of trouble.
Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma. Because at the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. So, the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk? We know the man went out on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport? But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you? At the port of Dunkirk, on board of the SS Groose. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Kazuma! What did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but If Kazuma was on the ship, then it could have only been for one purpose.
Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo. Surely you don't think...
Come on, Ryunosuke, you know the rules. There's only one thing that really talks in the courtroom. It's hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing. Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt? That you were there that day at the same place as the inspector?
He was there? With Gregson?
There's a clue that you've overlooked. A secret the trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I need to verify it. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing. But nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify to the court where this trunk... Where in the trunk this alleged clue can be found. Well, I can't save, so I'm gonna assume that it's this.
Got it.
This is your proof? What do you say to that? Oh, fuck off. It's a fucking stab. Whatever. Is it the actual blade here?
Got it.
Screw you, game. I point towards the gash, being like, hey, someone clearly stabbed into this with a sword. Can we see the sword? No, you have to point out the tiny little tip at the top. Tippity top. There's a small piece of metal lodged into the wall of the trunk here. Like the tip of a blade.
Eh? A blade?
Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Kuruma. Of course it is. Won't you draw it? Here in this courtroom? For all to see? Funny. It's the other sword, you dumbass.
Excise caution, my learned friend. That man is a son of London's most notorious killer.
Bailiff! Watch Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk. Thanks for the racism, guys. Won't be necessary. Oops.
Oh no!
The tip is broken. Like so many other knives in this series. Broken tips. If a fragment of a metal is found from the trunk fits together with the end of that sword, the question of who was there with the Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asagi? Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved.
Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi?
Yes, on the 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me. And the mission was...
And the mission was?
The assassination of the Mark. What? What? Oh, for fuck's sake, Kazuma. Now he's gonna be like, I'm part of the Reaper's game. You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from the notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku? let me make one thing perfectly clear. I've killed no one.
Explain.
I accepted the assassination mission, yes, as I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk. But I've never had an intention to carry out the plan.
You were never going to do it? We believe Kazuma-sama. We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Jigoku arrived safely in London the following day.
On the 31st, I boarded the train from London with Inspector Gregson. We travelled to Dover, from where we crossed the Channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Groose and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan.
You went to Judge Jigoku's cabin?
Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but you already decided... You already told us that you had no intention of going through with it anyway. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent the night at a boarding house in town and returned to England the following morning.
A boarding house in Dunkirk?
My signature will be on the register book. It would be simple enough to verify.
Then what became of Jigoku?
Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it was easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in the room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing an infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. So we're really still pushing that Gregson is the aide of a murderer. That's the truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection! But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged into the inspector's trunk?
I tripped and it went in whoopsie boopsie. I don't need to answer that. The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade is irrelevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on the matter.
Be as that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence.
As you wish, my lord. The great sword Karuma has been entered into the court record.
Let's take a look-see-loo at it.
Karuma, the great blade. It's such a thing of beauty, I want to gaze at it for hours. The tip of the great sword. Broken. It's such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I can almost hear Karuma's sobs. Kazuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. I don't see anything else. We must take an immediate action now to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed.
What? Remains unharmed?
I agree. It should be our first priority. Ignore everything that I just said and simply focus on something else. It's recently come to the attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday.
How did you...
When a foreign dignitary invited to Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise.
You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed?
The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal. And he has the power to influence the orders from the inside of a prison cell. Seems a bit weird, honestly, that he'd go crazy and kill his inspector, his literal only link to the police force, one of the biggest ones, in fact. Quite frankly, it'd be quite insane, if you think about it, that he'd just not focus on having other assassins go and kill Judge Jigoku while he was in Britain. No, he acted crazy and wild and just went insano mode for one moment. He has the power to influence and give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zeeks?
I'm drunk. If you were truly the Reaper, if I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you.
Order! Order in the court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst.
Oh no, not Judge Jigoku.
No one want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only arrived into the country. Except that is... for the Reaper, wanting to finish off the mark that's up to the net 10 years ago. Also racist people who just don't like Japanese people. And possibly just thieves who think that he has quite a lot of money on him. Quite honestly, there's a lot of people that would be willing to kill, if you think about it, but I'm going to only posit one possible solution, because that'd be my job, my bitch. I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake.
My lord?
I sincerely hope that we are successful. If we are unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence, in the next 30 minutes you will face grave difficulties.
Why the fuck are you getting on my case for that?
Court will be adjourned for 30 minutes.
Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare.
I can hardly believe it either, but on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories.
I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful happens to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control.
I felt that from the moment I stepped into the courtroom this morning. That strange sensation that we've been careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might have only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options.
Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear.
Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us.
If for some reason you run out of options in this trial today, then pull the little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Perhaps now is the time. What should we do? Pull Hurley's ears or not? I mean... it feels like they're pushing for it, right? I have a feeling it's gonna be pull anyway. Here goes then. I'm going to do it.
Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo.
No looking back. Heave! Ow!
That scream, it sounded like Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here! Is the felt doll talking? Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. Alright then, I'll put all my strength into it. Heave. Ow! Please, my dear fellow, you don't need to rip my ears off. Mr. Sholmes, where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grus. The SS Grus? She left Dover last night, after the final pieces of the cargo were loaded. Jesus Christ, that thing flew. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even without my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried into the cabin. We hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time. So, you mean you're already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Sherlock Sholmes, the world's greatest detective. Recited to perfection! Well done! You're genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it. Ow, 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 ow! Mrs. Nusato, gently with a genius's ear, please. Oh my, I'm ever so sorry. If I may, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, there you are, Mikotoba. You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grus. At Scotland Yard yesterday, we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket. But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert the fact. I merely had our quarter-bound companions utter my name. Yes, you did, didn't you? We've just entered recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads, I'm afraid to say... Do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt that we'll have welcome news for you within half an hour. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That's wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow! I shan't be hearing anything if you're tugging on my ear in that mindless fashion. Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver that operated in such a way in the first place, Mr. Sholmes? Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine. Now then. Oh, am I playing investigation as Mr. Sholmes and Mikotoba? Whilst I know that how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Mr. Sholmes. We have but half, and now before Grus puts the sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall be finding ourselves in Naples before too long. There are times, Mikotoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin. Yep, we're playing as Mikotoba, aren't we? Oh my god, the fucking... Oh my god, he's got a new haircut. First class cabin number 2. Yes, that's the one. I don't believe we've had an investigation of the cabin that's going to be plain sailing. That crewman standing in front of the door is an angry-looking fellow.
Why are you loitering here? Who are you?
My dear fellow, do you not recognize the world's famous great detective when you see one? The question ought to be, who are you?
Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Tichninkin Stronginov?
Tichkinev. Tichikin Stroganoff. Tihikin Stroganoff? Because the last one was Biff Stroganoff. Was it? When you see... Great detective. Ha! I don't think so. Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine. Goodness me, is that a tattoo? That just Sholmes? I must say, whilst admiration is flattering, naturally,
Our religion
it does leave me a
teacher is
bit
the goat.
cold. Oh, really? Did he let you... Did they let you get on your phone during class, or just let you go early or something? Also, we're playing as Mikotoba and Sherlock for the time being now,
Yes.
which is interesting. Nice. I don't think any teachers really let us go early
Both
too
of
often.
those.
Nice. It's even more awesome. I mean, I remember specifically one of the most weirdest things about my time in school was most of my ICT classes, we did all of the work, like, basically in half a year, meaning, like, the other half of the year we just fucked around on computers whenever...
He is playing Hitman RN.
Oh. Playing Hitman. That's actually a good idea for streams. I haven't played the Hitman series, but I've seen gameplay of it. Not a bad idea. But yeah. Anyway. What are you talking about? Leave now! How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by my name and not by my appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir.
He friended some of my classmates on League.
Oh, wow. Most teachers tend to have a kind of work and personal relationship being separated, huh? I mean, outside of work. I don't know. Seems strange. I suppose this is the age where teachers really are getting into that kind of modernized workflow, where they actually do, like, play video games and do more modern stuff. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling aboard the Russian steamship, in fact. How'd you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba. I'm sure it was...
Our German teacher is like that as well, LUL.
Sounds like you're pretty lucky with teachers.
3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku.
There is no one with the name on board.
But we know he purchased a ticket for passage.
You mean Eastern man? He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk, he said something about emergency, I think.
What? Are you sure? So Shishiro realized that we were after him, has he?
His cabin is the one behind you. We would like to investigate, please. No! I have orders not to let the mouse inside. Not even mouse inside. Mikotoba, my good man. Be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make some excuse so he can leave the area. Doesn't great detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right? Cassis! The plan is ruined!
And you only have yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes.
Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I'm not here, you cannot go inside.
Mikatoba. I'm sure you haven't
I
forgotten
gotta
my
go
special
now.
talent, have
The
you?
bus is here, Concha.
Sure thing, Marker. Take care. Opening any lock. Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind to afford me the requisite time, my old friend, in your typically accommodating manner. How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man! So, the game is afoot. This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I should distract the crewman's attention with this somehow. Leave it alone. Oh, I think not. It'll never work, surely. I need to concoct another distraction. This would appear to be an alarm bell. Hell would break loose if I were to ring that thing. The whole crew would know about it. No, I think not. Never worked, surely. I need to conduct. There's another first-class cabin, and yet the door is completely unguarded. Empty as well. I had a quick look inside earlier. I must confess I didn't investigate the wardrobe. There may very well be a young Japanese fellow inside, perspirating merrily. If you're referring to Naruhodo, you know very well that he's currently perspirating merrily in court. Does it not strike you, though, Miss Mikatoba? Why the men studs and guard them not only in front of this cabin and not when both are apparently vacant? Not wrong.
Hopescape.
There's a speaking tube for the members of the crew to communicate with the others around the ship. If I could just persuade the stocky sailor friend that he needed to use it, Sholmes could unlock the door while he was distracted. The question is how? Ah, the switch for the electric lights. Perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewman wouldn't be able to see what we were doing. Flick.
What is happening? Where's light?
Now, Sholmes, now! Oh, right, Sholmes wouldn't be able to see what he's doing.
Nobody there.
That was a close shave.
Quite a knack you have, stumbling so violently in the apparently empty corridor.
Do be quiet, Sholmes. I have to think of another approach. That's the way to the deck, but we certainly can't give up on this now.
I have a worry that he might be dead inside that room. Let's try the mousetrap.
Choo! Choo!
That sounds like Big Mouse in trap.
Choo! Choo!
I will bring bucket of water later to put that out of misery.
I don't like the sound of that.
In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice say a chew sound. Only a Japanese mice make that chew sound.
Oh, really, Mr. Sholmes? Pray tell, what does a Russian mice sound like? Beep, beep.
Naturally! Though it's quite unconvincing, I readily admit. Go ahead, Mikatoba, do a pee-pee this time.
No, thank you.
God damn it.
I'm sure I could come up with a better alternative solution.
That got me a little bit.
This would appear to be an alarm bell. Time to be a dick. Here goes then. Pardon me in advance.
Yo, what are you doing? We at sea. Everything is... That would be bad problem.
What's going down there? Going on down there, seaman strong enough. Report at once.
Aye.
Sorry, sir, nothing report. It was stupid trick. No, not by me, by world famous... No, as I told you. Now, Shums, now. Done.
Not even 5 seconds, eh?
Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikatoba. In we go.
Oh, yes.
Third November, SS Groose, first class cabin number 2.
Good gracious.
It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly.
Those clothes on the floor, they're Shishiro's without question. Well, it seems like we were just a little too late.
It seems like we were just a little too late.
Yes, by 2 hours.
Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may very well be 2 hours worth of clues to find here.
But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes.
Indeed he may.
Which makes it all the more thrilling.
My god, if he's something inside the wardrobe, I'll lose my goddamn mind. So that's definitely a clue, but wardrobe time.
According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe.
Indeed he was. And it was a similar size to this one.
Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow. What? Whatever for?
It was the site of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, in you go. It'll only take a moment.
Really, Sholmes, surely you can't tell me what you can just tell me what you said.
Well, I added some brilliant remark on and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer.
I think I'll just read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes. There's a speaking tube up there, look, although it looks like it was stopped by some cloth.
So the voices of the crewmen
on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose.
Or indeed, so the voices of this cabin aren't heard elsewhere.
Could something have happened in here that was not for anyone for no one else's ears, do you think?
Either that, or it could have been to prevent snakes from entering. Is it possible that Genshin might still be alive in some form, or the original professor is still alive, and the judge actually got him away from the country? That's like a theory to think about, maybe.
It could also be to prevent snakes from entering. That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it?
Oh god, don't talk about snakes anymore. Quite an exquisite glass, I must say. See here, how it...
Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off.
Ice, Mikotoba, ice. Opulence? The first class passengers enjoyed chilled drinks.
Pardon?
Could it be that the steamship is equipped with electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think?
Well, it is a luxury liner, after all. They have an enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce, as well as ice. On our voyage to Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world.
Suddenly, Mikotoba. The sight of you is making my mouth water.
I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know.
So they have a compartment that's big enough for a body to be stashed and frozen.
These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases.
I feel as though the rules increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination.
What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Does that not strike you?
Maybe right. Probably your imagination, though. A trifle.
And you know what I always say, Mikotoba? There's nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. Yes, just my imagination. Just my imagination. You did well.
I'm trying to do a Professor Urk from Pokemon Snap. For the Mikotoba's voice.
The wall is a slightly different color just here, do you see?
Indeed. You have observed... What you have observed arised when a frame had been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief?
Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure.
He may very well be an elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late.
I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Mr. Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall, I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape elsewhere.
Okay, I guess not.
Plenty of my reading material to keep passengers occupied on long sea voyages. I found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say.
Whoever stocked the bookcase was hopeless heretic. There's not a copy of not a single copy of the Great Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, my dear fellows.
I'm afraid it's just me. But no, you're right, quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible.
I shall leave a copy behind. I'll just happen to have one with me. It's your true mission of the Church of the Great Detectives, aren't you? Your true missionary. That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown.
Hiki wear trousers, a Tesman coat, a Tansen robe, a Haramaki waistband. Certainly the clothing of a Japanese man.
And certainly Japanese men are accustomed to culture of the wardrobe.
It looks to me as if they'd been thrown into a heap like that in somewhat of a hurry.
Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps. I'm sure you've made mention of packing too few.
I'd very likely drowned in one of Shishiro's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think.
Really thinking of stealing from Shishiro?
This is the waste paper basket. Look, there's still some rubbish inside.
Indeed? Then let us pry! I've discovered recently that a pendant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets.
I sincerely hope it's only for your work.
Ah! Here we have a notice issued to the passengers from 3 days ago.
3 days ago? The night before we arrived in London, then. When I was still aboard myself.
The evacuation drill notice. 31st October. Oh, okay, never mind.
Ah yes, there's an evacuation drill. I remember now. It's for the safety and security of all first-class passengers who are constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. I can't look at that though. That's a problem. I don't have access to the court record. It's a very sizable trunk, indeed. Chishiro was partial to all things large. A rather clumsy fellow if he failed to produce notice that he'd left behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose? It's lighter than you might think, but there's still a hindrance to a speedy escape. Pity, it's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now, the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present.
You're still here?
Ah, able seaman Stronganov. Hello again. I was beginning to believe you'd never materialize.
Eh? You are waiting for me?
Of course, I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity so far sooner.
I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before.
Poor innocent Techekin.
It is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now!
Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there's something that must be done.
What are you talking about?
Why, naturally. Debunking your deceit and barring of the truth.
Oh!
I'm afraid I've seen through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not left the vessel at all.
Ah.
And for another, my dear Seaman Stronganov, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you?
How can you?
Good gracious, Mr. Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out? All of it? It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less? So, would you care to join me for a dance? Of my immaculable logic and reasoning? Nothing would please me more.
What is this?
We have but minutes until this vessel is put to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stronganov, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship just some 2 hours ago.
That is what I said.
Sadly, that is a rather clumsy lie. You see, there's something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it.
What?
Ah, yes, of course. I see you've noticed it too, Mikotoba. Then do, please take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago. Oh wow, we got these two as pictures like this. Let's see. What was the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba? It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as we always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe and the answers will come clear. So impress me. I think I can manage that. Is it the ice? Clearly the ice hasn't refrigerated itself or melted, meaning that it was put in recently. At least that's what I'd push for.
I mean, it's also a possibility of the clothes, but I can't pick the clothes.
Take that!
Take that! Oh my god, what?
Perhaps you should have cleared away the glass.
How curious! That ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. Ugh! It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin only moments before our arrival. With a well-chilled glass in hand.
Get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes.
One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff?
But why would Sheshiro run from us?
Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Cruise are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage to Japan?
Ah, that's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door, and Sheshiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage, as I suspected.
For you see, there was traces in this cabin of the dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide.
What traces?
I know nothing of this.
Ah, this is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Mr. Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at?
As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, and I'm sure that hasn't escaped your notice.
Something out of place here?
That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place here are being masked quite horrendously. I must say, I didn't foresee you ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba.
No, quite.
But life is full of unexpected twists and turns. As we well know, it's actually kind of interesting that together they're actually doing a way better job instead of Sholmes just going off and coming to an extremely stupid conclusion and then having to go through it again as Naruhodo. I do like this version though, where we're just going through it normally instead of just going through an entirely dumb version one and then doing it again but correctly.
As you well know. Now then, let us see if we can uncover the truth here.
Yes, you have the floor, dear fellow.
Take that!
Gilly glack 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 glack.
It's the rules of the passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanged crooked on the wall is as to say it was put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. The frame was originally over there. The shape and size are a perfect match. Duh, you're right. When did frame move? Hardly the most observant crew member, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think that your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability.
Oh dear, it seems to have touched a nerve.
So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall? Is it going to be a bloodstain? A good and shot. Oh boy. So was Gregson killed from outside? Was he like outside the Was he actually like a bodyguard of some kind? Like Hosonaga was?
That looks like a bullet hole.
What? Someone has been shooting walls? I don't think it actually went through though, because there's nothing on the other side, right? So, yeah. I see the projectiles move. Yeah. Clearly the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. I have a distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect even Eastern stranger? Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? But because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pet pretense as clearly shown by... I really don't know how to approach this one, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, my dear Mikitoba. Clearly, simply keep your first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. I'm quite sure you'll see it. In fact, I put a wager on it. So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides. Well, I can do that.
Take that!
He's been bribed, I guess.
Clickety clack, click clack, click clack. It's almost too obvious for words.
Right, the universal language of the world. Money! Die!
And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow is in question is Seishiro Jigoku, yes?
Gah!
So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going about it, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice.
But... I believe you know Mr. Stronganov. You know Mr. Jigoku is hiding in the at this precise moment in time. As always, Mikotoba, it's a matter of deduction. The furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I know what you're going on to something there, Sholmes. You found the clink in the burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where the prey is hiding. Slightest flicker in the pupils, a miniaturely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You could hardly call it barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man turned his entire head. It's not entirely what you describe as a fugitive glance. Is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. He's inside the waste bin! God damn it. I'm trying to click it.
Take that!
Clickety clackly clackly clack.
You turned immediately and looked at this large trunk, didn't you?
God!
The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time. And is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside the trunk.
If he still has breath to take, I fear that he may be running dangerously low on air.
Hmm?
I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. But how can we? Are you forgetting the combination lock?
We don't even know the 7-digit code.
Combination lock can be opened from the inside of the trunk. Therefore, must be an arrangement. There must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it from after our departure.
Of course.
In short, before Jigoku hid himself in that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stronganov. No, I know nothing about combination lock. It's actually pretty clever. Shomes upside down, written like that, is essentially 5, 6, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5. You do have a lot of good muscle, my good man. Hmm? Now, Mikatoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk?
How on earth would you expect me? It's a 7-digit number, remember! Quickly now, we have little time.
Five. 0, I guess? Because it looked like a 6, but... The last one's also 5. Shums. 4. I think that's it, right? 5. That looks like a 6 to me, but I guess it's a 0. 5, 0, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5.
Take that!
What? No, it's refusing to open. Tell me, what number did you use? Well, to start with, I thought I'd try my birthday. Fucking seriously, guys, come on. Is... I swear to Christ if it's like... Am I supposed to believe that I'm supposed to do 5, 4, 0, 1, 3, 0, 5? Right. Or is this supposed to be something else? I always find standing on my head aids the cognitive process. Right. But that's what I put in. One, 0, 4, 5. Is that... What is that supposed to be? Is that a 2? That is not a 2. You can screw yourself right the fuck off if that's a fucking 2. You are so fucking bullshit there. No, that looks more like a 6 than a fucking 2. I assumed, oh, it's going for the 0 then. Mm-mm.
That did it, it's open.
You just had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugene, you found me now.
Shishiro. I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know.
But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it.
No, quite. I just wish it were some other way.
Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read the reports on many of your exploits.
Excuse my manners, Miss Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion.
The devil is in the details, Mikatoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion. Who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour.
I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor.
Well, Shishiro, are you going to explain all of this?
You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival at Britain, an attempt was made on my life here, on this very ship.
By the Reaper of the Bailey? Yes, I've heard. I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you.
And I had no idea at this time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when I arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again.
So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it?
I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you.
It's somewhat surprising, I must say.
What is?
Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that one just happened to be available.
So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin is just what happens to be available, so I purchased a ticket and here I am.
I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of the incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before you'd even docked in Dover, have you? To prevent anyone else from taking the cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it?
Eugene, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will be set off to its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once.
You have no jurisdiction over my movements.
We have this, Shishiro. Take it.
What is this?
It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. And you know the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be.
You came prepared then, Eugene.
Come on, let's go.
One moment.
What is it, Mr. Sholmes?
Inside Mr. Goku's trunk.
We found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Shishiro?
I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea.
By the look of his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know.
Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn into France. Small component has been entered into the court record.
Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on your shoulders for you and your assistant.
And that's just about the 3rd hour mark. Damn. We haven't got a continue yet, but I feel like we're going to get one soon. 3rd of November, 12:10 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. Court has reconvened. Kazuma Asagi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than what you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts were not ascertained. We must then come to the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of this court's time. The prosecution calls for the immediate verdict. No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence, and we've heard all the relevant testimony. There can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness, from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible.
The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow.
Who on earth is this crucial witness?
Shishiro Jigoku. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper.
Judge Jigoku? You found him? But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead.
How in the name of God did you find the man? He was located in France during a recess at Port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions.
Herlock Sholmes?
Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Jigoku on the night of his death. Along with the prosecutor Asagi, Gregson was on the mission to assassinate the man. Wait, we're just accepting that now. Okay. Which means that Shishiro Jigoku is a sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Groose on the 31st of October.
Well, it would appear that it is too soon to move to adjudication at this point. The prosecution occurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. In that case, I hereby call an end to today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side?
No, my lord.
No objections, my lord.
I object. Where's my glass? We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth.
I'm about to kill you. I'm about to kill you and make it look like he did it.
Ba ba ba. And that'll be it for today. That was a nice amount of time, too. Unexpected halt of the proceedings sent a clamour around the courtroom. But outside the bailey, there was Londoners who knew nothing of the secret trial within. It was just a typical still night. Then a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. And that is it for today. Wow, that is quite a lavish meal on the table right there. Take a big old look-see at that. Wow, we're going to be eating good tonight. Still, we are done for today. So, this is definitely spiraling a bit. I think the biggest concern I had with this case is mainly that we're kind of dealing with 3 separate cases at once. Gregson's murder, the Professor case, and the Professor escaping prison case. All those 3 cases are constantly being at odds with each other right now. And it feels like we're going through a similar problem that the 3rd case went through on this game, where we're kind of being forcibly told something that feels wrong over and over again. The kinesis machine did actually teleport someone. You have to believe that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It feels like we're doing the same here. Gregson did, in fact, attempt to assassinate someone. He really did try to do that. He is the Reaper's Aid over and 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 over again. I have a feeling that that's not truly the case. It feels like unnecessarily cruel to make Gregson an actual villain. And he did seem to be investigating the Reaper in different aspects. I don't know. Is it really going to come down that Kazuma actually did carry out the murder in order to implicate Van Zieks as the culprit? It would be pretty ballsy for that to happen. God. This entire case has just been completely, like, crazy up to now. It still feels like we don't know everything. Well, that's it for today, then. Next Friday, we might be playing more Silent Hill. Or we could be playing something else, maybe one of the Blackwell games. I'm going to add Hitman to the list of games I could play. I like to get a couple of series in so I can, like, switch in between them, because after this long haul of the Greatest Attorney game, I might go back and play Persona 1. I don't know. Nevertheless, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in this far. Hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye!